And you know what's funny? Everyone online talks about envy like it's some spiritual disease. Don't compare yourself, stay in your lane, just focus on your journey. It sounds nice, well, until you realize it's impossible. Your brain needs comparison to survive. It's how you calibrate reality. Without it, you wouldn't know if you were improving or decaying. The real problem isn't comparison, it's what you do with it. Most people weaponize it. They see someone winning and immediately start building a case for why they don't deserve it. Well, she has connections, she got lucky. That's not analysis, that's self defense. Well, because envy isn't really about them. It's about the version of you that you're afraid to meet, the one who could have done more but didn't. You tell yourself, well, you're better than them, but you're not acting like it. And that gap between potential and performance is what hurts. That's why you scroll and sit instead of study. That's why the comment section feels like therapy, because you'd rather critique someone's work than face the part of you that refuses to work. Let me give you an example. When Kylie Jenner became a billionaire, Alex Hormozi was already successful. He had made good money, status, had proof he was the guy. But when she hit that billion at 21, something cracked. The first instinct was ego. Of course, she's rich, she's a Jenner, she had connections, reality TV, PR machine, it's the voice of self-protection. But then, beneath that noise, he caught something rare, humility. What can I learn from her? The question changed everything, because when you choose curiosity over criticism, you reclaim power. He realized what she had that he didn't, a brand. So instead of sitting in envy, he built. That Forbes cover wasn't just a headline, it was a mirror, and he used it to redesign his next chapter. That's the real cure to envy. Study. Criticism doesn't cure envy. Success doesn't cure envy. Only study kills envy. Every person doing better than you knows something that you don't. And that means their success isn't a threat, it's a map. You can turn the entire world into a library if you're humble enough to stop judging the books. But here's the next step. People love to say, well, comparison is the thief of joy. That's only half true. Comparison can also be the architect of growth if you use it right. The problem isn't that you compare, it's that you confuse criticism with insults. Criticism says, oh, here's the gap between expectation and reality. Insult says, you're worthless for not meeting it. One gives you feedback, well, the other feels your insecurity. So here's the challenge. Stop insulting yourself under the guise of being real. You're not being real, you're being cruel. Turn your envy into data. Turn your jealousy into a list of missing skills. When you can say, they're better than me at something without collapsing, then you unlock growth. Because the moment you admit, you can learn it. And if you ever doubt this, remember this. People who fail watch losers. Winners start winners. Losers mock virality. Winners reverse engineer it. You will never find a high performer hating on another high performer. They are too busy taking notes. Now let's talk about feedback. Well, because this is where comparison turns into progress. Feedback isn't judgment, it's fuel. But only if you know how to process it. Most people can't. They crumble when corrected because they've tied their identity to being good. That's fragile. Real growth requires you to decouple self-worth from performance. Good feedback is fast and specific. That's how you improve. Bad feedback is vague and emotional. That sucked. Well, that just triggers defense. So see feedback that's tight, immediate, behavior-based, and unemotional. Don't ask, was I good? Ask, what one behavior should I change next? Do that consistently and you will evolve faster than anyone in your circle. Now, here's the uncomfortable truth. You are not failing because you lack potential. You're failing because your behavior doesn't change. You can journal or manifest, pray, meditate, but if you woke up tomorrow and do the same things under the same conditions, you'll get the same results. That's not fate. That's myth. We call that insanity for a reason. But there's a deeper reason that you don't change. Reward. Every bad habit in your life exists because at some point it paid off. That's why you repeat it. You procrastinate because it relieved anxiety once. You overthink because it gave you a false sense of control. You avoid because it protected your ego. We are not rational creatures. We are reinforcement machines. We repeat what we have rewarded for, even when that reward is just comfort. So if you want to change, you don't need to heal your past. You need to create new rewards for new behavior. Don't ask, why am I like this? Ask, what am I getting out of this? Because until you change the payoff, the pattern will stay. And that's why trauma, as Alex Hormozi describes it, is really just accelerated learning. Something hurt you once, so your brain decided, well, never again. Sometimes that's useful, like when you touch a hot stove or fire, for example. Sometimes it's destructive, like when you touch rejection or stop trying. The work isn't to relive it, it's to retrain it, to show your nervous system new evidence. Well, you can handle this. I can be safe and still take risk. I can fail without collapsing. That's how you override the code. Now, let's talk about quitting, or what people call pivoting. There's a good failure and bad failure. Good failure teaches you something that moves you forward. Bad failure is when your assumptions about reality are just wrong. So, how do you know the difference? If environment is the same, your goal is still valid, and your core assumptions still hold, then you don't quit. You iterate, you push, you improve your skill. But if you realize that one of your core assumptions was false, if the world just doesn't want what you're making, you pivot. That's not quitting, that's updating your map. Now, about commitment, people romanticize it, but at its core, commitment just means this: the elimination of alternatives. You get married by removing every other option, right? You succeed by doing the same. Every maybe drains momentum, every backup plan kills agency. You don't need motivation, you need constraint. Because as long as you think, well, if this doesn't work, I'll try something else, you will never give this everything that it needs to work. And that brings us to mastery. Most people actually, never get there because they stop too early. The first 20 hours of anything give you explosive growth. You go from clueless to competent fast, but then the next 10,000 hours are slow. They're boring. They're where most people quit. That's the value of real progress. The amateurs escape it by chasing novelty. The professionals stay in it until it bends. So if you are in that space where you are doing the right things, getting the right feedback, and still not seeing results, don't panic. You're just paying the tax of mastery. Every craft changes it. And if you never forget why it's worth it, remember this: you are not chasing the thing. You are chasing the version of you capable of building it. Everyone wants to be a millionaire because of what it means. But the real win isn't the million, it's becoming the kind of person who can create it repeatedly, reliably, and ethically. When the goal is who you become, you win daily. When the goal is what you get, you only win occasionally. That's why most people hit milestones and still feel empty. Well, because they were chasing symbols, not self respect. So let's end here. Delete the myth of balance. There are seasons for obsession and seasons for rest. Don't compare your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20. You don't need to be balanced every week. You need to be aligned over a lifetime. There are years to build and years to breathe. There are seasons where you eat dirt so that one day you can feed others. So if you're in the building season, stop apologizing for it, or stop explaining your hunger to people who have already quit on theirs. Your future self is watching you right now, hoping that you don't stop. Work the unbalanced years so that you can live the rest of your life on your own terms. Because that's the real definition of freedom: to wake up one day and realize that you no longer need balance. You built it.